I'm Jonathan, and I don't believe in ghosts. I'd like to take you back to a time when I did. I'm 10 years old, and I'm sitting in a bed at my aunt's house. Even though it's a small room, a lot of my family's in there with me. There's three of my cousins, my aunt, and my mom. We could be hanging out in the dining room or the living room, but I get the feeling that we're upstairs in this bedroom because we're hiding. We're hiding from the grief and the tears that we've shared this past week. You see, my grandmother died. Even though her funeral was a couple of days ago, we still feel the need to make time to lean on each other. Since I'm the youngest in the room by far, I don't have anything to contribute. I'm just looking between whoever's talking. Also, since I'm the youngest, I'm not really paying attention. But I start to register words as I hear one of my cousins declare that something weird happened to her. She says, after Abuelita's funeral, when we were going back to her apartment and were waiting for my uncle to buzz us in, I felt like someone was splashing cold water in my face. There was nothing in front of me, just the door, and we were inside, so it wasn't rain. I swear it felt like someone dipped their hand in water and just flicked it at me, but no one was there. Each of my cousins call out, "Hey, I felt that too." Even my mom says, "I thought it was just me." Now, I was with them that day, and I didn't feel anything, but I'm still wide-eyed at the revelation that my family experienced something they can't explain. I'm kind of happy that it happened only in the vestibule. I guess ghosts don't follow you when you're buzzed in. My mom adds to all of this with a knowing smile. She says, "Our family's always been tuned to the supernatural. Even your grandmother has seen ghosts." I remember once she told me about a time back in Colombia when she was a young woman in a house she bought with my father. One day, she was cleaning a bedroom in the basement. She looked up from her cleaning to look at a window that looked out into a hallway. That's where she saw someone she didn't know. A man with his palms pressed against the glass on either side of his face, and he was staring right at her. Now, your abuela was a tough and brave woman, so she continued cleaning, not looking at the face and not showing any sign that she was afraid. When she was done, she looked back at the window, and that's when the face moved, but not by backing away from the window. No, the man slid across the glass, slowly, until he was past the window. Now it was too much for your abuela. She ran out of the room. There was no one in the hallway. She ran upstairs and told my dad, and they searched the whole house, but they couldn't find anyone or any sign that they were there. It's then that they remembered that this house used to belong to a priest who would offer refuge to people from the Civil War. They knew the face she saw belonged to a ghost who was still looking for refuge. When my mom's done talking, I'm still wide-eyed and also mouth-agape. I can't stop imagining that face sliding along the glass. At least, I guess ghosts that do get buzzed in can't work windows very well. My aunt breaks the frightened silence. "Well, I saw a ghost when I was a girl." I don't think I can take another ghost story, but my aunt is not to be outdone. She continues, "When I was about Jonathan's age, my great aunt died. After a funeral one night, I was sleeping in bed. I woke up in the middle of the night, meaning to go to the washroom. Before I could go and walk in the dark, bleary-eyed, I had this weird feeling. This feeling told me not to move, that I wasn't alone. Frozen in bed, all I could do was look out of the open door to my room. And that's where I saw, looking back at me, my great aunt. I was so scared. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. All I could do was stare at her spirit. She looked just like I remembered her, except instead of eyes, she had these glowing white lights. After what felt like forever, she turned around and walked down the hall. I was so afraid I decided I didn't need to use the washroom anymore. I stayed in the bed until I fell asleep again. When my aunt's done her story, I'm still wide-eyed and still mouth-agaped, and now I'm staring intently at my fidgeting hands, because I'm worried that if I look out of this doorway, that I'll see a spirit with glowing eyes like the music video for Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart. Have you seen that? But somehow more terrifying. The only solace I have is the thought that ghosts that do get buzzed in or that can work windows at least still respect the threshold of a doorway. At some point in the future, I may feel ridiculous sharing all of these stories, but for now, I'm 10 years old. I believe in them wholeheartedly. I'm convinced that not only are ghosts real, but I am going to see one. And what if vestibules, windows, and doorways aren't enough? What if the ghost I meet is bolder than that? I decide that night that I need to prepare. I need to make a defense. Back at home, I survey my room. It's a pretty small room, so my bed takes up a lot of floor space. It's pushed into the corner, so by my head and my left side are walls. I'm safe there. At the foot of my bed is a bookcase due to the aforementioned lack of space, so I'm good there too. That leaves my right side wide open. I search the rest of my room and I find an old blanket. It's too old and scratchy to be used as a regular blanket, but I've got an idea. I fold it up along the right edge of my bed, and then I pinch up the top layer, and it stays standing. There's still gaps between the blanket and the corners of the bed, so I plug those up with stuffed animals that I'm a little too old for, but since I have them, might as well put them to work. Still, I know that the blanket is going to be the real heavy hitter in terms of ghost blocking. With that set up, my makeshift barricade is ready. I go to sleep, and for the whole night, I'm fine. I'm safe. Nothing happened. The blanket worked. The next night, I set it up again, and nothing happens. Night after night, I set up this blanket wall, and night after night, I have a ghost-free sleep. Even when I'm at my most tired, I devote time to setting up this blanket wall. It works so well that I actually start to panic when I notice that there's a lot of lint coming off of this old blanket. What if thread by thread I lose it and it won't be there to protect me when I'm an old man, and surely ghosts are still going to be out for me when I'm an old man. I continue to use it for protection, but I worry about a time when it won't be there. One night, I'm in my bed, lying facing the wall, trying to get to sleep. I still have the blanket at this point, so I feel totally fine having my back exposed that way. I begin to doze off. I'm awoken almost immediately by the feeling of someone getting into my bed. That's weird because I didn't hear anyone coming in. My first thought is that it's a ghost. They saw me with my back turned and they took their chance. But then I remember the blanket and I think, no, it's one of my parents. They've just come to check in on me. I still hold my breath though. I try to keep as still as I can. If it's my mom or dad, they'll see that I'm sleeping well and they'll go back to the room. Or they'll see that the hairs have raised on the back of my neck and that my spine is stiffened. I wait for them to move or to say something. My eyes are open, so I'm looking at the wall, and if there were any lights on, I could see shadows there to give me a sense of what's going on behind me. But I'm literally in the dark and have been waiting for a confusingly long time. I let go of my breath quietly and carefully and consider maybe saying something. And that's when I hear, right by my ear, as loud and clear as anything I've ever heard, the sound of a RIP! And yes, just same. Just like that, I graduate from being petrified to full-fledged terror. I'm shocked into turning around. The only sound are my short, quick breaths as I turn to face no one. My eyes dart around the room, but there's no one there. I look at the blanket. It's completely undisturbed. I cry out at the top of my lungs, "Mommy!" I mean, I'm 10, so Makes sense. She wakes up and rushes into my room and asks, "What happened? What's wrong?" And I cry out and blubber. I was sleeping in my bed and I was facing the wall, and then I felt that someone was coming up behind me, and then I thought maybe it was you were dead, but then I heard something right above my ear and was so loud, and then I turned around, there was no one there, and I think it was a ghost. There was a ghost in my bed. She holds me as I cry these panic tears. When I eventually calm down, she asks, "Do you want me to stay with you until you fall asleep again?" When she asks me this, I realize that I'm tired. I shouldn't need my mom to stay with me until I fall asleep. I'm 10 years old. I'm practically in middle school. I'm tired of being the scared little kid who needs his mom because he's so afraid of ghosts. I'm tired of spending all this time to set up a blanket wall, especially because in the end it didn't even work. But I'm also tired of wanting it to work, because when I eventually had a ghostly encounter, all it did was make a loud noise. I'm fine. I'm fine, I'm tired, and I just want to go to bed and stop worrying about all of this stuff. I tell my mom, no, I'm okay, and she goes back to her room. I go back to sleep without setting up the blanket. I don't set it up the next night, nor the night after that. Now, I don't know if ghosts are real or not, but I don't think I believe in them. Besides, I know that I wouldn't be able to stop them anyways. Thank you.